Hello, everybody. Nice to see so many people here. This is wonderful. Welcome everybody. And can you all put in the chat? Oh, so many faces coming up. That is lovely. Would you like to all put in the chat where you're from, where you are in the world? That will be very interesting to see. So I am in Norfolk in the UK, as is Joe, Joe Gregory, our co-founder, and Jonathan, also our co-founder and CTO. Where are you, Jonathan? I always forget where you
We're
actually
actually in
are in the
Wales. Yeah.
UK. Yes. Right. So, oh wow, wow, wow. So we have lots of Vienna, Singapore, Texas, Botswana, Ely, Germany. Wow, wow. We really are very international here. Duncan, you're in Norfolk with us. Bertil, you're in the Netherlands, and you, Sarah. Oh wow, Turkey, Seattle, Perth, Australia. Gosh, what time is it for you in Australia? Is it not the middle of the night? Are you up at 2 o'clock in the morning, Kim? But very good to see you anyway. Thank you for coming in. Jason's in South Africa, Essex, London, Sussex, Adelaide. Again, voila, voila. Must be a very late for you. Ozzy is in Ontario, Canada. Wow. Wow, wow. Fantastic. Okay, well, I won't hold you up. We're going to go th through the book magic scenario today, introduce you to the app. I'm going to talk you through it, and then Jonathan is going to give you a live demo, which will be very exciting because every time we do it, Jonathan's added new bits of amazing tech. So I'm always excited to see it as much as anybody else. Joe and Jonathan will also be, if you want to ask questions as we go along, do put them in the chat. I think that's the easiest thing to do. We will aim to have a Q&A session at the end. So we will actually be able to talk to you live, but as we go along, I'll just keep going so that we don't. Oh, Helen Appleby, hello, lovely to see you. Very nice to see everybody. Right, I am going to share my screen and get going with the presentation. Right. Oh, that was not the one I meant to start with, but I think I'm going to start with this actually. I'm going to tell you that if you sign up today to Book Magic, you will get a 20% discount on your first 3 month subscription if you use the code BM20. That wasn't exactly where I meant to start the presentation, but as that's where I was, let's go with that. So Joe, I think we'll put that in the chat so you can see it. So that's a 24-hour discount. So it's just for you who are here today. So that's why it's so good to see you. So, Book Magic makes you an author faster and easier, and I'm going to explain exactly why that is the case. So, if you don't know me, I am the founder of Book Magic AI with Jonathan and Joe and Daniel Priestley. Joe and I are also the founders of Rethink Press, and I'm the founder of the Business Book Awards. I have written, I've written 14 books actually now, and I have just written my 14th book, which is called, surprisingly enough, Book Magic, and I've written it in the Book Magic app. So I can tell you from absolute personal experience, it works incredibly well. As a book mentor, I've been the key person of influence for Dent Global, published mentor for 12 years. I've run the Book Builder program, and overall, I have taken around 2,000 expert entrepreneurs through the process of positioning, planning, and writing their books. So let me start by telling you why you definitely need to write and publish the book that will build your business. And what we always say is nothing sells you like a book, because it is different to every other kind of sales and marketing tool that you could use. So firstly, when you plan and write your book, it gives you incredible clarity and confidence just for yourself, even if you never publish the book, which is of course not what I'm suggesting. Planning and writing it will do amazing things for you and your business. It will give you absolute clarity about your process. Lots of our authors come back and say, I'm so glad I wrote my book. My business is a million times better now. And I'm possibly, you know, some of them pivot, some of them niche more. They really understand what they are delivering and get huge confidence in the knowledge and expertise that they've built up over the years, and, you know, are now able to produce in book form. So firstly, for yourself, it is an amazing piece of self-development. Secondly, nothing brings you authority and influence like having your name on the front cover of a book. It is a unique and iconic format. It has lasted for hundreds of years, but it is still absolutely current and cutting edge. We did an analysis of the people who had been on Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a CEO podcast the other day. 78% of them were authors. It just shows you that that is the kind of authority having a book brings you. And the influence of your book is that it's distributed in an extraordinary and unusual way, in a way, around the world. It goes out and meets people that you could never find yourself, even if you were out there looking for them. And it just gives you a whole new position in the world once your book is published. Thirdly, and this is perhaps the big one for most entrepreneurs and business owners, is your book is an incredible sales tool. Different to every other type, but for your ideal prospects and clients. And if you write the book that will attract and magnetize them to come back and work with you. And that's what I'm going to take you through today, so you will be able to do that. So we always call your book your undercover sales agent, because it's not like a marketing brochure. It's not a pitch. It's not a business card. It is a unique piece of value that you are able to provide people wrapped in that iconic format. It has a price on it. People will pay for it, and you will be able to give it away as a piece of value. And because it is not going out there saying, buy me, buy my services, it is just revealing how great you are at what you do through the way you've written your book. It is the most amazing way to attract ideal prospects and new clients, and enable you to charge higher prices and be seen as a more valued service provider. And finally, if you want to be out there and more visible, if you want to be on all those great podcasts, as most of us do, if you want to be speaking at industry events, there is no better way to get to those places than by sending a beautiful published copy of your book to the organizer, the podcast host, the media. The media go looking for their experts and their commentators on Amazon, because obviously anybody who is an expert has written their book, so that's where they go looking. And so if you are looking to become more visible, then and you know, to speak and to be on more platforms, then writing your book and having it out there, being able to give it to people, is what will help you like nothing else get onto those platforms. And finally, the fifth thing that your book will bring you is what I've been calling for years book magic. It is a piece, it may be several things that happen to you after your book is written. It's predictable, like the other ones, that it will happen. But what I can't predict is what those pieces of magic will be for you. Every author that Joe and I have published, that we work with, comes back to us at some point, sometimes immediately after their book book's published, sometimes weeks or maybe months later, and we have a conversation that tends to go, "You'll never guess what happened," they say to us, and we can't. And it is, something amazing. It has provided a piece of magic in their life that nothing else has, like perhaps being in contact with one of their heroes who has got back to them because they've sent a copy of their book. It may be getting an incredible client they've always wanted. It might be a speaking gig. It might be going on Stephen Bartlett's podcast. It could be any of those things. And sometimes it's not even. There's one author came back to us and said, "I don't know what to do. In 6 months since my book's been out, my business has doubled and I'm struggling. What shall I do?" That was a bit of a first world problem, but that genuinely happened. So book magic will happen. And that's why we call our app Book Magic, because that's what it provides for you. So just to remind you, sign up today to get this, or in the next 24 hours to get the 20% discount on your first 3-month subscription to Book Magic. And you could write your book in that 3 months using the discount code BM20. So if it is so obvious in a way why everybody should write their book, and most entrepreneurs and business owners, I think, know and feel that it's the right thing to do, why is everybody not doing it? And sometimes it might feel like everybody is, but believe me, they're not. It's still an elite group of people who are getting their books written and published. And I come across 5 big barriers to why people don't actually get their books written. And the first one is so simple, it's almost ridiculous. It's that they never start. And that is because, they have this great idea in their head. Lots of people say to me, "I'm going to write my book this year." And goodness, so many don't. But often a great idea for a book stays in someone's head because they literally don't know where to start with getting it out of their head and onto the page. The next one is such a big one, and lots of people also do not do this, and it is not planning your book in detail before you start writing. And this is a really, I think lots of people think, "Oh, I know what I'm talking about. I can do this. I can just, make a few notes, make a few chapter headings, and then it'll all come together as I write." Believe me, it usually doesn't. Planning in detail first is essential, because what happens if you don't is that you end up getting overwhelmed in the writing process. You could write a couple of chapters, 2 or 3 chapters in that sort of mode, but then it starts to get overwhelming. And also, a lot of people don't understand that the writing part after the planning is not something, it's not one big, huge, amorphous task filled with, kind of various things that you could do at any point, like planning or writing or proofing or editing or reviewing, researching. It actually is a step-by-step process. And then often when they get overwhelmed or it all kind of grinds to a horrible halt, then people take too long. It all starts taking too long. People give up, and people, often kind of come back to us after a couple of years and say, "Look, I started my book a couple of years ago and now it's out of date because my business has changed or the world has changed. And, I've wasted all that time. I need to do it quicker. I need to get it done this time." And then the final one is actually working alone. I think a lot of us have in our heads this kind of image of the creative writer sitting in their garret writing alone with their scratchy quill pen, or your keyboard. But that it's something that writing a book is a lonely a process, but it shouldn't be. It doesn't have to be, and that is also one of the problems. One of the things that stops people getting their book finished. So let me address all these 5 things and tell you how Book Magic can help with all of those and help you become an author faster. So never getting started. Book Magic is all about holding you in structure through the whole process. And it's not just the planning and writing. There is an earlier part of this that helps you get your book out there. So as Tommaso said, The step-by-step structure helps you go in right at the beginning and go deep, pull out concepts and ideas. And it is such a huge step up from the blank sheet. The blank sheet of paper, the blank page on your screen is so off-putting at the beginning of a book. So we start long before that at Book Magic. We start with something that we call the 3 Ps of position, which is in fact all about writing the right book for the right person. And the right person is your ideal client. That is who you are writing to. In the book, for the book that builds your business, you are not necessarily looking to write a bestseller, a book that sells lots of copies, a book that goes out there and changes the world. That's not how you're going to grow your business. I mean, if that happens as well, brilliant. That's fantastic. If you've got that sort of book in your head, then absolutely go ahead and write the world-changing book. But the book to build your business is one that is about what you do, how you do it, why you do it, and it is aimed directly at your ideal client, the person who is going to pick up that book, read it, understand the value you provide, and realize that you are the person they need to come to get that implemented. So your book is giving information for them to come back and find implementation with you. And that is how a book builds your business. But how do we use the 3 Ps to make that happen? Well, the first thing you need to do is identify your ideal client. We call that your person, and it is the one person you are writing your book for. So in Book Magic, we like you to create this ideal person with the help of the AI and generate an avatar, or you can provide your own if you've got a photo of your ideal client, and write to that one person, because that creates your ideal voice, your author voice. And when your ideal client reads your book, they will know that you are talking directly to them. One of the mistakes people make as well is to think that when they're writing their book, they need to talk to everybody out there, loads of people at a time. But you have to remember that every person who reads your book is having a one-to-one interaction with you. We don't do group book readings on the whole. They are reading your book and you are talking directly to one person every single time they read it. And that one person needs to be your ideal client. And the next thing you need to know is where you are meeting them in their journey, whether you work with individuals, whether you work with businesses. Where is this ideal client in their journey when you need to interact with them? So you need to describe and analyze what their pain is, what they are looking for at that point, what their problem, their question, the thing that you can answer is when they want to come along and pick up your book or come to you and say, I need your help. So that is your market. You know that very well, but it's really helpful to get it out of your head and into a written form. And particularly in our app in Book Magic, you can get that really clarified with the help of your AI coach. So defining your client and your market for your book is vital. And then the 3 P of position is your promise, and that is the content of your book. If you have any worries, any uncertainty about what your book should be about, this is what your book should be about. It is your big promise. It's what you offer all your clients. It's the process you take them through. It's the expertise that you have. And that is your business. You know it incredibly well. We also say, by the way, that you absolutely should not use AI to write your book for you. You need to write the book yourself. AI will do wonderful things around, for example, the positioning, the planning, the scheduling, getting your book written, but not the writing itself. The AI is brilliant at finding absolutely anything that's out there on the net and bringing it back to you. But what it can't do is get into your head. And what's in your head is the vital, valuable information that you need to put in your book. So that is why it's absolutely no good to have the AI write it for you. That is what you need to do. And the way you deliver your ideal client from their pain to your promise is your genius. You are doing that already. You know what you do, and that is the content of your book. And it's also how you actually create a brilliant title and subtitle by using those three P's, by identifying in the title and subtitle how you who that person is, what their problem is, and what you are promising them. And again, the AI is incredibly helpful with that. Very, very smart. So I just one a bit of feedback I had on WhatsApp the other day from an author who had just started using Book Magic. This is exactly, I'm not saying who it is, but this is exactly what they said. OMFG just did the whole suggest outline of this topic, and wow, this seems so unfair to authors not using Book Magic. Well, to be honest, I'm not that bothered about authors not using Book Magic. I think, you should use Book Magic, and that is what you'll get to. An unfair advantage. So again, 20% discount if you sign up in the next 24 hours on your first 3-month subscription. Code is BM20. So let's move on to the planning piece. After you've positioned your book, Book Magic takes you through a rigorous planning process, which is actually quite hard to do on your own if you don't understand the divisions you have to create for your book, the different kinds of content. So Book Magic automates tasks like structuring chapters. It will help you curate topics. It will help you get your stories in. Stories are absolutely essential, particularly case studies. That's what you want lots of in your book. And this is one of the ways that it really cuts time off the creative process. So our book plan started off as actual physical index cards that we used to go through, and sometimes still occasionally do, in person with clients. And obviously COVID put a stop to that. So we created a piece of software, of bespoke book planning software that we then used online, but it just did the planning, and was comparatively clunky, to be honest. But that is how we've developed it. That is actually the software. You're not looking at a screen, an actual whiteboard there with cards on. That was the software we developed a few years ago. And but again, it's the same process. It's pink chapter headings, yellow parts, white topics, blue stories, case studies, anecdotes, and green cards represent data. That is exactly how you need, and the detail you need to have your book planned out in before you start writing. And now, of course, it is all beautifully and elegantly incorporated into Book Magic. And because we know that different people have different ways of processing, so for me, I love a list. So this is what my book, this isn't in fact my book, but it looks like in Book Magic. I can see it in pink chapter headings with, I can see how many case studies I've got in each chapter, how many words. It's all a lovely list for me. But other people, and I'd say that Joe is one of these, Joe likes to see, and many other people love to see the card version of that. So you can move these around. You've just got to click between them, and Jonathan will show you this in the app. So you can see it. It's still the same structure. It's still the same detail, but you can see it in a different format. You can move it around. It's more kind of kinesthetic there. And then that also can be viewed as the contents list and the whole manuscript. That is the manuscript version. So this is how Book Magic, with the AI assistance as well, helps you get your book planned out in detail, and then you just click on each topic, each chapter, and write it in the editor, and it is so quick and easy. And then to stop you getting overwhelmed in the writing process, Book Magic asks you the questions, or you can ask the AI the questions that the reader will want to know in each. So you can get into, a new topic, and you can say to the AI or your coach, tell me what would you as a reader want? Because it now has your avatar, your ideal client in the app. So it can answer for your ideal client. What would you want to know about this? What detail would you like? What have I missed out? It is so, so helpful. And then you write section by section, step by step. And as Lisa Turner says, boom, you have a book. And the writing process that we take you through is one that also we have developed over many years, and it works very, it's a perfect writing process. So you start with W for write, which is getting your first draft out of your head. And the really important thing is to remember that a first draft is not a final draft. It's just literally getting everything out of your head and onto the page in a very rough form. I will say, Ernest Hemingway said all first drafts are shit. So, that is the gold standard. I'm happy with that. As long as it's there, your 30, 40,000 words in first draft, it does not have to be perfect. And that is often what stops people going further. It's this kind of idea that, your first draft has to be perfect. It doesn't, because then you move on to your first self-edit, which is the 2 steps of review and improve, where you possibly print out your manuscript, go through it as a reader, make lots of notes, and then go back to your version in the app, in the online, and improve it. Do your first self-edit. The app tells you exactly how to pick 6 beta readers to give you the perfect feedback, a couple who are your peers, who know your content, your subject matter, a couple who are ideal clients or prospects, and a couple of others who will give you really good detailed feedback that will help you then move on to your final self-edit. You can repeat any of those steps if you want, but that process holds you in a structure. So at no stage do you get overwhelmed. And then, of course, working alongside you, you have your virtual coach in the app. So you're able to choose a coach. Paul here just describes how seeing his virtual coach come to life and then walk him through the writing, well, actually the planning process and everything as well, was kind of unexpected. So you have got somebody there. You've got a collaborator who's all about making your book the best it can be. So you are never working alone. So because we have been working for many years collaborating with Rethink Press and the Key Person of Influence program, I have personally mentored, as I said, over 2,000 authors through their writing process in the last 10 years. And Rethink Press, uniquely in the publishing industry, has built an extraordinary team of live, real business book coaches, writing coaches and ghostwriters who have also worked one-to-one with hundreds of authors using the same process. And all this experience has flowed into the Book Magic app. And this is now the Book Magic AI coaching team. Yes, I'm afraid that's an AI version of me, but you do have other choices. So you can choose who you want. You can also, by the way, you can also access through the app, you can access live coaches. So if you want a coach to look through your, say, your book plan or your first chapter, and then you have an hour's conversation with them, you can do that. You can do that through the app, and it's not just AI, it's also real human coaches. So if this is making you feel you should be getting your book written as soon as possible, do consider signing up in the next 24 hours and getting that 20% discount on your first 3-month subscription. Because if you put your mind to it, the Book Magic AI app will make it so much faster that 3 months is by no means an impossibility for getting your book positioned, planned, and written. And so Bethany here has, confirms that. She wrote 60,000 words, which is longer than most books. I would necessarily suggest you don't need to write 60,000 words. We generally say that 30 to 40,000 words is the ideal length for a book to build your business, but 60,000 words is also fine. She got that written with Book Magic, and this is not her first book, in 17 days, which is pretty amazing. I also had a WhatsApp message from somebody some of you may be familiar with a couple of days ago. I don't know if you know Daniel Priestley. He is one of our co-founders, so you think he might be a bit biased, but actually his surprise is entirely genuine. So Dan suddenly decided to dive into Book Magic to write his next book. And as he says, it makes it so simple to plan and write. He was genuinely, I think, shocked at how good it was, and I was too when I was writing the Book Magic book. I was, feeling a bit kind of arrogant, I suppose, as a seasoned writer who had already written 13 books. I thought, well, I've got my process. I know what I'm doing. I'm happy with my old Word documents, and I will try Book Magic. But to be honest, I think I'll go back to. I think I'll probably revert to my tried and tested process. But no, I started using it. I was also shocked at how good it was, and that's very much down to Jonathan's technical magic. But it works so well. So if you are a seasoned writer or a first-time writer, Book Magic will work for wherever you are in your author journey. And the other thing that I really want to say as well is that we're very aware that people not only visualize their book plan in different ways, but also produce their ideas in different ways. So I am a writing person. I like to type. I don't really know what I think until I see the words that have come out of my head, gone through my fingers and come out on the screen. And then I know what I'm writing. And I just, that's how I write. But for many people, talking is the way you think, and that is completely and absolutely fine. So if talking is easier for you than writing, and it's the best way for you to get your ideas out, then Book Magic caters for you as well. You can dictate your book through the app and it will appear on screen just as if you typed it. It is absolutely brilliant. And you can mix and match if you're someone who likes to do both. And if you think about it, you might be writing your book when you're sitting at your desk with your computer, but then suddenly you're out somewhere and a great idea comes to you. You can just get on your phone, press the microphone button, and speak what you're thinking, and it will appear in your book, and you can go and edit it later. So do not let the idea that you're not good at writing hold you up from getting your book written, because Book Magic enables you to speak your book as well as write it. So do consider signing up today, going to bookmagic.ai and claiming your 20% discount with the code BM20. And that is where I am going to leave things at the moment and stop sharing my screen and ask Jonathan to give you a live demo, because I think that will be extremely exciting.
Thanks so much, Lucy. That was fantastic. Really nice walkthrough. So I'm going to walk you through the process of creating a book from scratch effectively. When you first start with Book Magic, this is the screen you'll hit where you get to write what your working title is. If you don't have one, that's not a problem, because you can use AI later down the line to help with suggestions. Set your target word count, and then tell the platform why it is you're writing your book. So that might be to attract more clients, raising my profile, and then just click Create Book. And what you'll then see is that you're into a program of work. So here we can choose our AI coach. It's really, really straightforward. Of course, I'm going to choose Lucy. But once you've chosen your AI coach, you'll see that AI settings appear below. And this is so that you can really customize your tone and voice that comes back from the AI coach. You can even give it examples of your writing, and that will help to really, refine exactly how those responses come back. Once you've done that, you are into the positioning work. So the first piece on that, as Lucy showed earlier, is your values. So your values underpin everything that your book is about, respectively, and why you're writing your book. And this is a really nice exercise. Just go through and click and whittle down to a set of 6, and then eventually a core value. And you might think that's tangential, but actually it gives the book and some of the AI context real personality when you're getting your output from the AI. So it's a really worthwhile exercise. It also just helps refine in your mind why you're writing your book. So once you've done your core values exercise, you'll see a summary and a glowing report will come back from the AI, which summarizes all of your answers and your responses. And then you're actually into the positioning your client. Before I do that, I'm just going to show you that on the top left, there's a dashboard icon and a book icon. These are the 2 ones to remember. If you remember nothing else from this demo, these 2 icons are the ones to keep hooked in your head. The dashboard will give you an overview from start to finish of your entire book magic writing journey. So through positioning your book, planning your book, writing, promoting, and publishing your book. So I've just completed the AI coach and the value section. I can see that my next piece of work is to do the ideal client, your business, and then actually write the first draft of my introduction. So let's just go back to that. So once you've completed your values, we're going to go into ideal client. You can also access that from the menu. So the menu here comes out, or you can just click on one of the icons. And it goes from start to finish, AI coach, positioning, planning, writing, and promoting. So it's the same menu effectively. So once you do your ideal client, again, you'll work through these questions and they're all AI supported. So once you start answering the questions, the intelligence of the platform will really come into play. It will start to learn exactly who your ideal client is, what your business is, and why you're writing your book. And the more information you feed it in the positioning work, the better those responses come back. So it's a really worthwhile exercise. And as Lucy says, it refines you get new learning and new growth from just going through this process. So you complete your ideal client, you then move on to your business, exactly the same idea, some AI supported answers, or you can just write in your own. And then again, you'll see a summary of that, which will give you, if I'm going to just flip over to a book I've already done here. So if I go to my business, you'll then get a summary with all of those responses. And when you do complete the ideal client, you'll get a summary with suggested psychographics as well. You might notice here there's a little chap at the top here. So that was, I used AI to generate that image. So based on the answers I gave, I can use AI to come up with a client ideal reader of my ideal client, or I can upload, if I've got a photograph of someone I already work with, then you could upload that image instead. So by the time you've completed the ideal client in your business, you've now got a really clear idea of what your book's going to be about and who it is you're writing to, that one person that you're going to write to. You can then complete a first draft of your introduction, which we've really made super simple by splitting it up into the 5 sections. And you'll see here that the platform is giving us lots of suggestions on what to include based on the positioning work that we've just done. And it even gives you an example blurb of what you potentially could write in that section. Once you've completed each of those sections, it then pulls it all together into an introduction for you, which is the first draft of your introduction. Now that will actually sit at the top of your book. So I'm now going to talk about the second icon. So your book here is actually the full outline of your book. So when you first start, you won't see anything there. It'll just say, this is your book outline, add a topic to get started. But once you've implemented and gone through the planning section, you'll then see that all of the outline of your book is here, both in long form as a vertical view, but also you can get it as a horizontal view. And this is the book card system that Lucy talked about earlier. So these make it really easy to plan your book from a high level. You can just drag and drop the cards between or move the chapters left and right. You can edit the topic here. You can also double click on a topic and that will go straight into the writing editor. But before we do that, I'll just show you the text as well. So the third view you can see here is a text view. And this is a linked, so you can go to each section just by clicking the link or scroll back up to the top to see each of the actual book content once you get into the writing. There's a few other widgets on here which I'll just point out. So you can see you've got delete. So delete, you can select cards, delete. You can do the same with move. So you can select as many cards and move them. You can collapse your chapters, expand to see the whole book. You can filter the, you'll see here there's a little button, which basically once you've completed a section, you can mark that ready for review. And you can filter the ones that you've got left to do. So it gives you a quick way of seeing the topics that you've still got to write. You can see a word count. So it gives you a high-level word count on each of the parts. So orange is part, pink or red is chapter. And then you can see that that's giving me a summary of the total within that chapter. That's giving me a summary of the total within that part. Again, if I collapse that view, it gives me a nice high level to show where I need to put the work in on my book. And then additionally, you've got these amazing new features, which are brainstorming. You can now brainstorm directly within the tool and you can drag and drop cards from your brainstormed section on the left-hand side here directly into the tool on the right-hand side, onto your outline. You can obviously add your own brainstorm, but you can also steer the AI and suggest something. So if I, for example, monetizing startups. Oh, if I could spell startups. And then, and then those topic suggestions will come back from the AI with a bit of steer from whatever you put into the text there. You can do that for stories. You can do that for all of the core content of your book is the topics, but you can also do that for stories, data suggestions, chapter suggestions, and part suggestions. So if I flip that view off, you can then go back to your outline. And then finally, I'm going to show you the insights. So insights are automatically populated based on whenever you create a topic. So if I was to add a new card, so let's just turn that view off, add a new card. So for example, finding new client. So add that new card. And then based on this, the AI will then go off and create some new ideas for what that topic could be. So before you've written anything, it will create some little insights into potentially what you could write about. Now I can edit those insights and add my own. I can axe them if I think that it's got it wrong. And essentially what that means is you can build up an entire view and read your book effectively from start to finish before you've actually committed to the full writing process. So insights are really powerful. And they also give you, if you've written some text in one of the topics, you can get the AI to summarize that. So it will replace the existing insights with what you've written and summarize your text. And then you're actually reading from start to finish your entire book. So the outline, the book tool itself has got lots built into it to really, really help plan and also brainstorm your content. You might notice up here as well, there's an export to Word. So in addition to adding topics on the left of that, you can download that as a Word document, and that's fully formatted, ready to give to your publisher, but also to read through if you wanted to. And we've got PDF on the way as well for that. The other thing that's great in this tool here, so you can access from the dashboard and from the outline tool, is the title work. So this gives you a way to brainstorm titles and subtitles. So you can either click on AI Coach Suggestions, or if you've already got a title, you can click on More Like This. And again, the AI will come back with some ideas for you to take forward. So I like leverage, I'm going to add that. And then let's go with that. So I'll switch it to leverage. And then, I'm not sure why I duplicated there. I'll check that out. So that will then give you your word title. In fact, what's happened there? Change. Oh, there's a bug. This has never happened before. A live demo and it's all gone horribly wrong, but I will get that fixed. So let's stick with monetize for now. So your title and subtitle, lots of help there in terms of being able to come up with suggestions, but of course you can add your own title and subtitle. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard. This has now taken us through the positioning work, but I'm going to cover off the planning work as well. So just like we saw before, we get AI support from our coach, who will essentially give you lots and lots of information along the way of why you're writing that. And this is all of Joe and Lucy's, wealth of experience that's been built into the app. And that's what you're effectively going through in each of these sections. Each one has a little exercise, so this should look familiar. This is the same planning tool, but it's in isolation just for topics. If I go back, you've got the same thing for brainstorming data and brainstorming your chapters and parts. And then where you will land is an outline of your book, which you can then, if you haven't got a structure initially, you can organize that with AI, and it will do its best to put everything into the correct chapters. But you can still drag and drop those into the various chapters with either the planner tool or the outline tool. So that gives you, once you've done the positioning and the planning work, that gives you everything you need to write your book. At which point you're into the writer process. And as Lucy mentioned, the writer process is to write your first draft, review and improve that draft. That produces your second draft, to then invite beta readers into the platform, which you can do directly into the platform. And then once you've had a review with your beta readers, you then produce your final manuscript with any amends. So it walks you through the entire process of creating your manuscript. It wouldn't be book magic without some extra added fun. So from here, we've on the outline tool and within the promotion section, you can actually generate marketing leads, lead assets directly from your book. So here you can see you can create social posts of LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and X. You can also generate emails, articles and blogs, and even video scripts. What's fantastic is that you can actually create an entire sequence of posts. So for example, if I wanted to generate leads or raise brand awareness or retain existing customers, I can go off and create some traffic by creating a sequence of posts for LinkedIn. Click next on that. And then again, what you can do is use AI to come up with a whole series of topics, but also add your own. And then I can drag them into 26 weeks worth of content. And what that does is then the ones that I like, I'm going to put into here. I can then edit those directly from my sequence, and it will go off and write my my post for me. You can see here, this is the sequence I created for the next 4 weeks. I can add images to these posts as well. So if I click on image, I can create a realistic, a design, an anime, even a 3D render image, which will be suitable for that post. You've got full version history across all of your posts. And like I say, you can very easily build up that sequence. The bit that we're missing here is coming very soon. So early February, we're about to release Ultimate. And Ultimate will then give you a full campaign manager. So you'll be able to schedule these posts on the calendar and actually create those to go out and be self-published. In the meanwhile, though, you can still copy and download the content directly from here. So the final bit I'm going to cover off then. So we've got lots of support from the AI and the platform built in. You can also generate a waitlist. So from here, you can essentially provide this link to people to go and register their interest in your book. Just put a bit about what your book is about and about about yourself, the author. And the bit that, of course, I haven't covered off is the actual editor itself. So from the book view, and this is from the planner or the outline, when you select a topic, it will then open up the editor. And we've got the insights down the bottom, as I mentioned, which is the summarization or suggestions. But in addition to that, you've got lots of AI support built into the editor itself. So it's a rich text editor, as you'd expect. It's got all the kind of tables and images and formatting, but you can also add comments. So as you start writing, you can add comments on your text, and your beta readers can add comments directly onto your manuscript as well. So you can read those and without having to leave the platform. But you've got full support here from the AI. So I can ask my ideal client, what would you like to read in this topic? I can ask them to outline this topic, simplify it, summarize it. I can get them to suggest anecdotes, analogies, case studies, online examples, online research, even reader activities. And then in addition to that, as Lucy mentioned, you can talk directly into the platform. So my favorite workflow is to take one of these and then just start dictating what my experience, my opinions on that. And you very quickly build up your word count. You'll see that bar shooting across, and then on to the next topic. So the other thing here, as I mentioned, we've got lead generation. You can actually do that directly from one of your topics. You can create a lead generation asset from that. So you can create a post to Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or X post, or an article, email, video script. We've also got reminders built in. So once you're into the writing process, you can set up some reminders. So they will be then sent to you however you would like to receive them, either by email, push notification, or text message, to just give you a nudge every day to get back onto the writing. I think I've covered everything. I've always got others notes as well. Yeah, so notes is a recent accessory. Yeah, but hopefully that's given you enough to get started on your book magic journey, and I wish you the absolute best of luck with it.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jonathan. So we've been frantically answering lots of questions in the chat, Joe, and we've actually got two Jonathans from Book Magic here. So we've also got Jonathan Harris, who's here. Hi, Jonathan. Thanks. And Jonathan can also you can also book calls with Jonathan to talk about publishing, which he's also put in the chat. Might just put that link in the chat again now, Jonathan, in case anybody wants to talk about the publishing side, because at the moment, Book Magic does not offer a publishing option. We are working on that, and by the middle of the year latest, we will be able to take you from writing your book through to actually self-publishing. But that isn't there at the moment. And in any case, we do generally suggest that you should publish with Rethink Press, which is the premier quality hybrid publisher of business books. So would anybody like to ask a question? We can talk to you. Please raise your hand and we can go through any questions live if you like. So Graham, you've got your hand up.
Hi, Lucy. Thank you for that. That was really interesting. I got 80% of the way through a book and had to ditch it because the business pivoted in a different direction. So I've put that on a shelf. But I've written another one which is well aligned with what we do now, and I'm up to 33,000 words. I think it's just about there. So I jumped on today because I thought, well, I've written it. Having looked at that today, I think there's some value in taking a look at this to just see if I've missed anything or to see how it's ordered. Would that be your approach? Because the next step, I've got no idea what to do next.
Okay. Yes. I mean, I think it's Jonathan Farah. Are we at the stage where we can upload a whole manuscript as yet?
So that's coming with Ultimate next month. Yeah. So you can actually just put a Word document or a PDF straight into Book Magic. It will create your whole outline. And the advantage of that is then you can do all of the marketing off the back of that content. So once it's in Book Magic, you'll be able to, use the full campaign manager to start either posting to LinkedIn, Facebook, or X or Instagram even.
Would you hold off for that then, Jonathan?
Yeah, I would wait. I would wait till if that's your intention. I would wait till they upload manuscripts there in February. We're launching Ultimate early Feb, so first or second week. Just keep a look on the website. But yeah, that will make that so much easier because it will run through with AI, it will run through the entire manuscript and then put it all into the right topics and outline. And then, of course, it's really easy then to just drag and drop those across. So if you want to edit it and get the AI kind of review, then it will be so much easier to do that.
Okay, great,
The
thank
other
you.
thing you might want to do is book a call with other Jonathan at Rethink Press to talk you through what happens in the publishing process, because it sounds as if that's where you're kind of stuck. You don't know what happens next. So
right.
maybe try that.
Okay.
Charlie, your hand is up next.
Hi, thanks. I want to do a step-by-step guide for people in my niche. And so I want there to be obviously text, but I want there to be nice tables so they can do rough examples of things before they complete their submissions. Will the AI sort of create those tables, or is there a way to import them? How does that work, please?
You can copy and paste a table in, or you can create a table from scratch within Bookmagic. It will support any images. So again, you can just, if it's just an image you've got of a table, you can also import that. We've never tried with AI. It's an interesting thing, but I'm sure it could. I'll look into that. I'll look into that one.
Okay, thanks. To be honest, I do have them in my head, but I thought it's probably going to be so simple that it'll just go, here you go. But yeah, thanks ever so much.
No problem.
Colleen, do you want to unmute yourself?
Hi.
Hi.
So there's a lot of discussion and alarm these days about the ethics and legalities of using AI. Now, you've been emphasizing don't write your book with AI, but I was curious about because the things like intellectual property and AI training, how are you doing this and how can we be assured that our IP is secure?
Yeah, so we use OpenAI and Claude for some things, but mostly OpenAI. And their terms and conditions are that any content submitted through the platform cannot be used for model training. They keep it for a sanitization, they call it, which is essentially just checking that there's nothing dangerous in there. But once it's past 30 days, it's actually deleted. So none of your content that you submit through our platform will be used for model training.
Does that help, Colleen?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Good.
You're welcome.
That's great. Anybody else? I can't see another hand up at the moment. Yes, Lewis. Hello.
Hi. So I work in a regulated industry, very heavily regulated industry. So and there are things that I'd like. So there's a kind of the whole kind of what you can say because you're regulated. It's a bit like a nurse could say something or a doctor could say something and someone that's not medically trained can say whatever they want because they're not bound by the same levels of kind of rules and regulations. So in that scenario, should I write it in my personal kind of context, or do I write it as, because it wouldn't really make sense as for me as a person, but equally there are things that I'd want to say that I would probably get pulled over the coals of saying from a regulatory point of view, or might do. Are you with me? I don't know if
I think I'm with you, but I'm wondering how you could write it personally if you are a qualified person in this industry and not still be subject to those regulations.
I think, well, exactly. This is the thing. in terms of because it would be like in a personal name as opposed to from my like limited company, so to speak. Would it be the case that can you kind of not sidestep things, but are you able to still how would you go about it, basically?
What would happen if you submitted a manuscript to us at Rethink Press is we would look through it and query anything that we thought was potentially legally dodgy or worrying, and we would give you feedback and advice on that. I don't think I can really say any more in a theoretical way without knowing even what the industry is. And I'm not asking you to say what it is, but I don't think this is the place that
if I could just jump in. So occasionally we get people that have written books with Rethink Press in a regulated industry, there are usually disclaimers. You may have to go through a process with whoever the regulatory body is of confirming that. And so there may be an extra layer for you. I know that's extra complexity. But yeah, we would help you with that and advise you and point you in the right direction. Excuse me, at Rethink Press.
Yeah,
Right,
thanks,
okay.
Joe.
Thanks,
So
Joe.
we've got John and Mo. So we'll just answer those questions and then I think we'll have to leave you. So John.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everyone. Great session. I just want some guidance in terms of what is the minimum or maximum book lengths we should be aiming at as our first book. Is it 20,000 words, 30,000 words? What would you suggest?
Our suggestion is always between 30 and 40,000 words for what we call the book that will build your business. You can write less, you can write more. There is no, there are no fixed rules. If you were going to a traditional publisher, they would probably want something more like 60,000 words so they could charge more for the book. But we have, our experience tells us that 30 to 40,000 words is a good length for a book that is going to your ideal client, that you actually want them to read and not feel like, oh, I'm this is too much, I can't get through this. You want them to read it, to finish it, to understand your value and come back to you for implementation. So you're not writing a manual. You're not telling them how to do this yourself. You don't need that kind of detail. You're giving them your overview, your experience, your expertise, and almost the whys. We often say, it's a why-to book rather than a how-to book that you're writing. So yeah, 30 to 40,000 words is ideal. Thanks. That's a great question, John.
Thank you.
Mo, what's your question?
Lucy, thank you. I have a couple of quick questions. So I'm going through a complete rethink of how to present my work. So I have a couple of potential paths for how to frame and describe what I do, how I do it, and how I help people. Is there a way to explore two parallel paths, if you like, two parallel ways of, two books essentially to explore, would this work better than this one? And how would I do that?
I think
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you can set up two books. The great thing about Book Magic is you have one account, but you can write as many books in that account as you want. So you could have two books on the go, and you could, set up a different book plan for each one. And
Okay.
see which works best for you, or publish two books with different methodologies.
Sure.
So, but yes, and I think you could, that is something that the AI would be useful and helpful with if you ask it the right questions, give it the right prompts. I think it could be very helpful.
This whole thought process has stemmed from reverse engineering my work through AI, which has been really, really fascinating and insightful. Yeah. So I have another question. I used to work with Dan Priestley for a few years. I've read all his books. He has a very compact format. So what kind of word length are Dan's books on average? Do you know?
His books are varying lengths. Some of them are, I'd say they're around, he tends to write around 40 to 45,000 words.
Okay, so they're not at the kind of shorter limit end of 30K.
No, they're not. They're not very short. Well, I think the score.
I probably know, Lucy, because I tend
to
typeset it. I think Key Burst of Influence was about 34,000 words.
Right.
Books that Daniel published with I'm trying to think who was his other
Wiley.
With Wiley, they were more like 45 to 50,000 words.
They did get longer, yeah.
Yeah, and that's because Wiley would have told him write more words because they're trying to make a bulky book to sell books. And then the School Wrap book was only about 24,000 words, so the scorecard marketing. 24 assets was probably about 32,000 words.
Okay. No, that's great to know. Thank you. Can I generate the social media posts as I develop themes and chapters and so on? Does the book need to be more near finishing, fully formed?
No, you can do it as you go. Absolutely.
Does it immediately, doesn't it? As soon as you start the content about
any content you put in can be turned into social media posts. It's brilliant.
Excellent. And does it work offline in any way, or does it always have to be online?
It's online. Yeah, it won't.
Okay.
It won't save. In fact, it'll tell you if you're offline that your work won't be saved.
Got it. Great. Thank you. I appreciate all the answers. Thank you.
Not at all. Bulama, can we get your question, and then I think we will have to leave it there.
Hi, everyone. So my question is around is there a best practice on how to deal with personal stories when writing your business book? Do you put the personal story maybe just in a chapter, maybe at the start, or do you sprinkle them across, the book? Is there a best practice for that? And
Our methodology is very much about sprinkling. If you want to put it in those terms, I wouldn't put. I mean, for instance, often authors think, "Oh, I need to give my whole backstory before I start writing my book." So, chapter one is all about me and what I've done. That's not very helpful to the reader. You want to jump in with them where they want to be, and then I would put case studies, anecdotes sprinkled through the book in places that are, so use them as illustrations to your hard topic content. So I would say a case study or a personal anecdote or a business anecdote, but something that sort of illustrates what you do in theory, by demonstrating what you do in practice. I would give, 250, 300 words is plenty for case studies and anecdotes, and I would break those up and drop them regularly through the book.
Okay.
And that gives a really nice reading experience to your reader, who kind of gets a little bit of a break when you tell a story. It's a different form of narrative. So, you're giving them all your experience and expertise in sort of hard factual terms, and then you give them a little story to illustrate it. And then, back to the hard copy, and then let's have another story. And it might be about you, or it might be about a client. But it makes them, what I always say with case studies particularly, is that you want every ideal client, as they're reading their book, to have at least 2 or 3 moments in the book where they go, oh, that's me. And they identify with a case study, or indeed with your story, and they go, yeah, that person really gets me, that author understands me, they can deliver what I need to get out of my pain and into their promise. And that's your kind of raison d'etre for your stories.
Yes, yes. Thank you. That was really helpful. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's very, very good to have seen you all today. Thank you for all your really insightful and useful questions in the chat and elsewhere. Jonathan, thanks for that brilliant demonstration. Joe, thanks for all your question answering, and Jonathan Harris too. Really good to see you. I hope you give Book Magic a try, and if you do, I mean, we do have a Facebook Book Magic community Facebook group which you get to join when you sign up with a paid subscription. So I look forward to seeing you there, and thank you all very much. Bye for now.